Lib Mandy is a privately owned and operated aerodromo. It's only about 30 miles south of Lima, but it's almost a 2-hour drive because of traffic, but also because there's no exit off the highway. We had to drive 30 minutes past the airport, then 30 minutes back down the other side of the divided highway. Even then, we almost missed the entrance off the shoulder. Peru has no private aviation and is home to only around 80 GA airplanes countrywide. Of those 80 planes, 17 are based here at Lib Mandy. From the moment we arrived at the gate, it was clear that we were entering a very different world than we see back home in Canada. And driving along the short entrance road, looking up at the stumpy control tower sitting on a desolate dry hilltop, it did nothing to dispel that feeling. Upon arriving, we were given high visibility vests and headsets, then ushered into the briefing room to meet our flight instructor, a Peruvian with a very non-Peruvian name of Halfdan Briner. He pointed out the airspace on the chart, and we headed out to the flight line. The airplane was completely incongruent with the surroundings. A late model Cessna 172 SP with a G1000 glass cockpit. It was in immaculate condition. The weather, however, was not great, not even VFR. Probably 200 broken and 1 to 2 miles visibility in mist. But apparently this is perfectly normal and acceptable flying weather for fall in Peru. And we did have a fully IFR-capable plane with a G1000 cockpit, no possibility of icing, and plenty of fuel to reach nearby instrument runways. So we completed the startup procedures and headed towards the run-up area. The 3,200-foot runway has an elevation of 240 feet at one end, about 180 2/3 of the way down, and 200 feet at the other end. It's a sight to behold, and quite the boost for the takeoff roll. We were airborne well before the middle, and in the soup well before the end. I asked Halfdan how he would find the airport again, being that there is no IFR approach. He said, "Don't worry, I can find it by smell." Now, Halfdan sported a pretty impressive-looking schnozzle, but I worried anyway. By about 2,000 feet, we were above the broken layer with no further cloud above, but visibility was still only around 2 miles. We headed south, looking for enough of a break in the undercast to see some Peru. Eventually, we did find some breaks. They were small, and they were short-lived, but we did end up seeing something more than Peruvian clouds and mountain peaks on this little trip. It was actually pretty cool. Heading back to the airport, the full undercast returned, and I started wondering if we would be diverting over the top to Pisco, an airport much further south, to do an instrument approach. But Halfdan's nose lived up to its claims, and he had no trouble finding our way back to the airport, around a partly obscured hill for base, down a short valley, and as he had promised, we found the only hole in the undercast for 20 miles in any direction, right over the approach end of the runway, where we had left it over an hour earlier. We taxied back, were marshaled to the pumps, and shut down, exhilarated by the experience. If you ever find yourself in Peru, I highly recommend that you fork out the 250 US per hour and see GA from a whole new perspective.